Hi guys, welcome to today's pick a card reading. So for today's reading, we're going to be looking at how to be successful in a certain situation, okay? So you guys can pick the situation, okay? It can be anything like work, family, career, hobby. It could be like even studying for a test, obviously romance, friendship, just whatever the topic is, that's fine. What we're going to be looking at is, are there any kind of dynamics here that might be preventing you? Where can you get help from? What's your advice? You know, what's the energy that's going on in this situation? And by looking at that, then we can look at, okay, so well, in this particular situation, whichever one you've picked, this is the guidelines of, you know, some of the things that you can keep in mind. By keeping those things in mind, you can be a lot more successful in this situation, okay? So basically, we're looking at how to succeed, all right? Anything that you need to know about me is going to be in that description. My name is Cassie, and I'm the reader behind MomentsAre. And at the end, I will have some news for the end. It just has to do with some... basically the channel schedule for the rest of the year and just some little things like that. But if you want to know that stuff, I always have news in the timestamp, and that's what that means. That said, let's go ahead and get started, okay? So we have pile number 1 is the yellow flower. Pile number 2 is the blue flower. Pile number 3 is the white flower. Pile number 4 is the black flower. Pile number 5 is the pink flower, and pile number 6 is the green flower. So if you have not picked your pile yet, go ahead and pause the video now, because we're about to start with pile number 1. All right, so it's the time where I always feel weird and awkward for needing to move these things out of the way, but whatever. Okay. Hi, those of you who picked pile number 1, here's your reading. Okay, so we have friends and colleagues. Okay, we have the 9 of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the King of Wands. Right, we have the Mountain followed by the Whip. We have dreams, and we have material and spiritual prosperity. Okay, so whatever situation you're asking about, this card here is showing you that you're going to be successful anyway, and it's not so much about how to be successful, it's about how to be the most successful, okay? So whatever situation you're thinking about is already going to go in more of a positive way than maybe you might think, okay? So that's good to know right off the bat. One thing that, and I feel like for like about maybe half of you, this might be like maybe kind of weird, like I have no idea how that would work, but one thing that you can keep in mind and encourage into this particular situation is getting advice specifically from your family and maybe even your coworkers. Now, I want to be really particular about this word colleagues, because I kind of think of colleagues as being your peers. And I don't necessarily mean friends. I don't necessarily mean people who, you know, although your peers can be your friends, obviously. But I mean, for example, if I wanted to be successful in, I'm just pretending my love life, okay? And I saw friends and colleagues, I would be like, okay, well, what that means is that I've got to find out from maybe other people who do pick a card readings, for example. You know, that might direct me to that. So whatever your colleagues are, these are the people that, you know, or for example, I might ask people who have also majored in psychology, or people who also live in the same state that I live, you know, that kind of thing. So people who are in the same circumstances as you are in this situation, might be helpful for you, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. I'm sorry, it says friends and colleagues, not family and colleagues. I do want to say, when I have this rule that when I misspeak, I feel like that's actually spirit trying to correct something. So I actually do believe that the family thing is important. But I just want to mention that, yeah, I missaw it. It's actually friends and colleagues. So yeah, to include that would also be friends. But again, I said family first. I think that's what I was meant to say. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's just a weird thing that I do. Okay, so just understand that that's the way I am. Okay, so we've got the King and Queen of Wands. Right off the bat, it kind of feels like a relationship, or it feels like a partnership. It feels like two people who are, have really dynamic. That would be a great word for it. Very dynamic, very passionate, very creative. The more feminine one is a little bit more, I would say, warm about that, and maybe even more reserved about their feelings and that kind of stuff. And the more masculine one is maybe more, I want to say, theatrical. I don't like the word drama. I think theatrical would be a better word for that. But this doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be a relationship here in this situation. It could just be anything. It could be like, maybe two bosses, or your two co-workers, or you and your best friend, that kind of stuff. So I do want to clarify that. But if you are thinking about a partnership, when I get a matching pair, I feel like that is a really, really good sign for that situation. And since we already know that the situation is going to be successful, I do want to kind of point that out. Here's a problem here, though, and it looks worse than it is. The problem here is that there's some kind of dynamic going on with either you or the other person, or maybe both, or the situation. And so if it's the situation, then this would probably represent yourself, okay? And that is, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty that has to do with exactly how it's going to play out and all of that. I feel like there's a lot of different elements in this situation that you have little control over. And because of that, it feels kind of like it's outside of your hands. Most of the things that we experience are going to actually be like this. It's just the way that life is. We actually have control over very, very little in our life. But before you have an existential crisis, just know that when I say that, I don't necessarily mean it in a bad way. I mean, understand, it's not on your shoulders. You're not the one that has to fix this, maybe it's not even another person in a situation. Maybe it's just a situation that needs to play out. So kind of keep that in mind. I feel like there's this energy like you need to do something, or something needs to happen, right? And I feel like it's more like allowing something to happen rather than trying to force it to happen, which can be very, very frustrating. Okay, I acknowledge that, and I understand that. I mean, it's not easy to hear that and be like, wait, you were supposed to tell me how to succeed, You're telling me to do nothing. And it's like, well, that's how you succeed, though. You succeed by checking your anxieties. Say, is this coming from me? Is this my anxiety going on here? Am I afraid of something? Make sure you know exactly what it is that you're afraid of in this situation. So that when you start thinking that, especially late at night, if you wake up from a nightmare or something like that, and you're just like, oh my gosh, and you've got these things in your head, at least you can identify that's a fear, versus that, that's not something I've thought of. Maybe that's some kind of intuitive guidance, that kind of thing. It really, really helps. And I understand a lot of people, I don't think that most of my viewers are like this, but a lot of people don't like to fully examine the whole spectrum of their life. So some people feel really uncomfortable with confronting their feelings. And confronting reality a lot of times. There's certain subjects that feel icky. But the more you practice confronting your certain fears in different situations, whether it's this one or any, you will be able to gain that discernment of knowing the difference between when you're anxious and when you're getting some kind of intuitive guidance that is about something that's not so great, right? Because it feels very, very different. One of them is just, I can't explain it. And it's going to be is going to be different for each person. So I can't even really tell you what that's going to look like or feel like for you. I can just say with certainty that they're two different things, you know? And so being able to recognize one will help you be able to identify the other, right? Okay, so I think it's kind of interesting that I got what I call the nightmare card, and we also got the dreams card, okay? So dreams see the possible pathways of a future that act as a roadmap for our actions. So yeah, this can't be any clearer to me when it comes to, well, what do? You follow the original intent that you put out originally with this situation. The original intent, that was the right vision, okay? If you maybe aren't certain what that original intent was, or your, what is this? Oh, I'm sorry, I saw something on the screen, but it it was bothering me. It was actually the red record button. I feel really embarrassed, but I'm not gonna cut that out because I'm real. So yeah, so if your vision, if you're not remembering, or if you're kind of out of touch of, well, what was that vision, or like things have changed so much that vision just really doesn't make sense in the situation, Cassie, come on. Pay attention to your dreams, because they will help supplement you to let you know what your goals are, okay? And if you're like, well, I don't remember my dreams, what you can do is you can close your eyes for about 10 minutes and just let your brain wander, and it might start picking up on a narrative, okay? And just kind of see that story out. You might even want to, for those of you who do dream, for those of you keep a journal about it, you might want to look through your dream journal over the past however long this situation's been going on, or just put that intention there. Like, I'm going to really pay attention to my dreams. I would really like to remember a few dreams in the next week. And that tends to help, for just about anybody who's looking for that kind of stuff. Another thing, if that's just not the way your mind works, because I know some people they can't do it that way, understand that, you will be guided in some way that's visual, okay? This would be in the form of some kind of symbolic coincidences or synchronicities. So for example, you might be thinking about something and then see it, like, I don't know, I might be thinking of a panda bear. Let's say I want to know how I succeed in becoming a zookeeper, and I'm like, God, I really want to take care of pandas. I'm pretending, okay? And I'm thinking about it, and then I actually see a picture of a panda. It's like, ooh, okay, that's letting me know I'm on the right track, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I mean when I say pay attention to your dreams, or some kind of visual reinforcement, okay, of whatever's going on. Here's something that can be very tough for you, and it really goes back to what we said before, but it's just coming up a second time just to let you know. It's like, yeah, we get it. There's some kind of block in your way, something you just flat out cannot overcome by yourself. This block has to move, or it has to be kind of whittled down. You can't really go around it. You might be able to go over it if you kind of raise your vibration a little bit, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me, actually, but it might make sense to you. But basically, there's a block here that's supposed to be there, okay? And it's because there's got to be maybe another less than 2 weeks for this to fully come and get here with this material and spiritual prosperity. Understand that when it does, the prosperity will be so much that it will kind of be a little overwhelming. You'll almost think, well, how could this be this rewarding, that kind of thing. And it's going to give you whiplash. Usually the whip in the broom, just so you know, it represents tedium, and sometimes it can represent pain, sometimes it can represent abuse. It just depends on what the situation is. But I'm really getting that this is like a whiplash. You're maybe it's like you're trying so hard that when it finally comes to you, it's all like, oh, it was that easy, that kind of thing, So kind of keep that in mind. That this blocks here, I believe. Let me say it a different way. This blocks here because you kind of need to slow down. Like it's this kind of like, that's the lesson in this, is to slow down. And the King and Queen of Wands, they like to do things. They like for things to be interesting, you know? Things aren't very interesting when nothing's happening. So if it feels like nothing's happening, you know, what's the energy is just all just getting to the point where it's perfect for you, and at that point, you know, you'll be able to be really prosperous. But again, I just can't say enough that this card shows me that you're already on the path to success in this. So first off, you don't have to worry about that. But if you do want that kind of, you know, that kind of advice, family, friends, and colleagues, okay? Look to them. Somebody in your life has more information that they could help you with than you might think, even if what you're asking about is very, very personal. Okay, and pay attention to dreams and any kind of visual reinforcement of whatever you're thinking, and all of that kind of stuff, and you'll be great. All right, guys, I hope you liked your reading. Thank you so much for watching the video today, and if you'd like a private reading, you can always book that with me. The link's in the description. All right. Hi, those of you guys who picked the blue flower. Here's your reading. Okay, so we're looking at how we can be more successful here. Okay. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. This is telling me an interesting kind of story. I just want the cards to be next to each other that makes sense to me, so I can... Okay. Here's the deal. In this particular situation, it's very much a straight line from where you are now to where you want to be, okay? So it's not like you're going to have to do like steps like A, B, C, D, E, and F. It's more like there's step A and then there's step B, and that's it, you know? So in one way, this is a very, it's almost like too simple, you know? It's really simple to get to that place where you want to be. The problem here, though, is that there is this, humans are motivated by either seeking pleasure or avoiding pain, okay? This very, very oversimplification of motivations and emotions, but sometimes we need that oversimplification to kind of understand a bigger concept, right? So when I look at this and I see the scythe and I see the swords and I see this fear and I see the throat chakra, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. This is a situation where somebody is afraid to speak or afraid to express themselves. And this is because they're afraid of whatever they say is going to be either taken the wrong way or is going to be the wrong thing. There's also this fear of losing something, or this idea that maybe something's going to be lost. What's interesting is that I do think something is going to have to be cut out in order for this situation to kind of right itself and get to where you want it to be. But it's not going to be a painful cutting out of that. It's actually a positive thing. And you know, whenever we're talking about a situation where we're trying to manifest, you know, positivity in our life, you know, whether we're, you know, doing it by taking action or we're just maybe praying or, you know, whatever your process is, you know, your creative endeavor for that. Sometimes we forget that we have to get rid of some old things to make way for the new, that new awesome stuff that we want to put in our lives, right? So let me just kind of go after this like one card at a time. So the throat chakra comes up because that's being blocked right now. Communication's blocked, okay? That might either be something that you don't have control over, or it might be something that you're participating in, okay? There's no judgment about which one. There's so many reasons for that. Don't even worry about it. The important thing is that the communication's being blocked, and because that communication's being blocked, there's not enough clarity here, okay? If if there's somebody else in the situation, or if there's, and another thing with communication, it can also be the communication of ideas. So it doesn't necessarily have to be literally talking about something. It can just be understanding something. Okay. So if you're asking about a situation where, I don't know, maybe you're taking statistics and you're like, wow, I usually am great at math, but I just can't get this. That would be another example of a blocking of the throat chakra, in that there's some kind of block to your understanding, or, that kind of thing. It's a very frustrating thing. I experience that probably more than definitely more than I want to, let's put it that way. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of clarify that with the throat chakra. But yeah, the communication or some kind of understanding is being blocked here. When we look at this here, it's like, well, you don't have enough information to be able to make a decision. It feels like the decision is either I do go this way or either I go that way, and it feels very black and white. Like either I stay or I go, or either this is a good thing or it's a bad thing, and that kind of thing. But here's where the advice starts to come in. The advice starts to come in when you take the Queen of Swords, and we've got someone who, the swords, they're associated with communication, things that are communicated in the air, okay, and that also refers to thoughts and ideas as well. Obviously, it can be music and that kind of thing too, okay, so kind of keep that in mind as well. But when we've got the Queen of Swords and we've got the sword energy, the sword is sharp, okay? Sometimes when things are communicated in a way that you understand very, very well, it's very blunt, right? It's like, you know what, I'm not playing, here's the way it is. I'm not even going to sugarcoat anything, right? And I feel like in your situation, either somebody's going to do that, and because of that, you end up getting what you want, or you have to do that. And because you do that, you end up getting what you want. However, understand the Queen of Swords is very, very different from the King of Swords. Some readers might be like, well, they're not that different, but I think they are. The Queen of Swords is able to temper the any kind of like backlash, or any kind of like nervousness here, because they're able to do that because she's also a woman, and she embraces that femininity. She says it how it is, in a way where it's not aggressive, it's more passive. It's more like if, I'm just going to use a friend as an example. If a friend came over to me and was all like, I don't know if we're really going to be able to continue being friends, right? A Queen of Swords answer that I might give is, well, we don't have a lot in common. It's like, I'm not necessarily saying we can't be friends, because of course we can be friends. I can be friends with anybody. It doesn't matter how much we have in common. But that's like, okay, here's some more information. We don't have a lot in common. Or it could be like, yeah, I really think I annoy you a lot, that kind of thing. But whatever it is, it's some kind of truth that maybe might be blocked. Or it could just be like, yeah, I don't really have as much time to nurture my friends since I had this newborn, for example, or whatever it is, since I started my new job, whatever, right? So that's how the Queen of Swords communicates. The King of Swords is like, the King of Swords is a little bit more like, yeah, I don't want to be friends, not always. I'm kind of dissing him a little bit, but just as a comparison or a contrast, actually, between the two, I just want to say that the Queen of Swords does not have to be sharp with her communication. She just has to be direct. She just has to be honest, okay? Honesty is a big deal when you have this much air energy, okay? The throat chakra, the Queen of Swords, the Two of Swords, we've got the scythe. It's basically in fact, it is the closest to a sword you have in the Lenormand, and when we have fear, that often has to do with, anxiety often has to do with people who are very, very intelligent and are able to connect things, and come up with these ideas of like, ooh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And that kind of thing. It can also be, fear can also be triggered by, this kind of like not knowing, and when we're talking about the throat chakra being blocked, we're also talking about misunderstandings or just not understanding a concept. Okay, so the Queen of Swords, in this case, if it's an interpersonal relationship, you've got to be honest with this person, okay? Or you've got to ask the person, like, okay, look, you really need to be honest with me because I can't really understand. Or you've got to be straight with me. In fact, yeah, because if you say you've got to be honest with me, then it kind of feels like you're calling that person like dishonest, and that might not be what's actually going on. But being straight or being upfront, that kind of thing. Or I need to know where I stand, right? If it's not a person and if it's just another kind of situation, then you've got to ask for some kind of clarification from whatever the situation is. And there's some kind of path here that is connecting this with friends, okay? So you probably have a friend or a peer or some kind of colleague that does understand whatever it is that you're trying hard to get in a situation. Your friend has some kind of information that will help make this decision for you and make you feel good about it. And again, you will be able to get what you want. It's all about communication, understanding, and honesty. Okay, if you don't hear anything else from this reading, that's what you need to know. But one of your friends can help. Okay, so keep that in mind. We've got we've even got the wise owl, which talks about understanding things, in the mind and all of that kind of stuff. It's just, this is a very cerebral reading. Okay, fear. We've already gone over that, but basically don't confuse your fears with, oftentimes people's thoughts, especially when you're really ruminating on something, you're trying to solve something, and a solution doesn't immediately present itself. Fear can sometimes get in the way because it's like you go in circles, and since there's no new information, it's like you can't come to a final stop and then make a decision, right? If you don't have enough information, you just go over the information over and over and over again until you pretty much feel crazy. But if you have enough information, then that circular logic doesn't happen. Fear is a byproduct of not understanding or misunderstanding, not this isn't causing it, or this situation isn't causing fear. What it is the misunderstanding, okay? It's a block in the throat chakra. And that's really important to know. So in the future, in this situation, when you are feeling fear or anxiety, that kind of stuff, understand it's because there's something you don't understand, or there's something that you are not communicating, okay? That's not being communicated, right? So keep that in mind. In the end, there's some kind of innocence here that needs to be cut away. Like I said, yes, there is going to be something that needs to be lost. I feel like the innocence is more naivety, though, in that, we're looking at a spread that is so cerebral, like I said before, and I feel like this innocence is more like, it's more like a representation of not knowing. And as soon as it's like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand it, you can't not understand it anymore. It's not going to be one of those situations where you have to keep doing this over and over and over until you really get stuck in your head. It's going to be a one and done thing. Okay. But the bottom line is, if you want advice, go to a friend. If you want stuff to happen, start looking at the situation for ways you can gain more understanding, ways you can be more honest, and ways that you can communicate better, even if it's communicating better with yourself and not another person. Okay. And I just, there's two other things here that's just kind of weird, and I just gotta say it. I hope it makes sense to at least one person, but don't be afraid of anything hurting. It's like you've got to accept that that's kind of like a reality of this, and something painful doesn't necessarily have to cause suffering. It can just be like, ooh, owie, and then that's it. Kind of like, I feel like some of you guys are in this situation like, ooh, I don't want to rip off the Band-Aid like a child, you know? Or at least that's the way I was when I was a kid. And I didn't want to rip off the Band-Aid, and I'd make my dad do it, and I wouldn't look because somehow that was going to make it better. And when he'd rip it off, it actually was not painful at all. It was just that I thought it was going to be painful. Or it was, but it was just so small. You know, I feel like that's kind of something that's going on here, is that there's a lot of guardedness here. And then another thing that I have to say, and I really honestly hate it when I get this kind of stuff, but I have to say it, the lilies can sometimes represent sex. This might be a situation where the miscommunication, all this stuff might have to do with some kind of sexual activity, and you've got to cut out the sex for a little while. So you guys can get back on the right track, okay? That's not going to be everybody here, but for those of you who need to hear it, that's what it's going to be. This is not going to be more than 2 weeks at a most, okay? Which is interesting because the last reading was also a 2-week time period as well. So yeah, I mean, so this is right around the corner. You will have everything you want. You have the ability to have everything you want. Just keep in mind those 3 things, and I'll say it one more time: communication. Okay, honesty and understanding. Okay, so that's what you've got to keep in mind. I hope you guys like the reading. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like a private reading with me, the information for that is in the description. Hi, those of you who picked the white flower, here is your reading. Okay, so we have New Beginnings, Sanctuary. Okay, so we have the mice followed by the bear. We've got the 6 of Wands, the 9 of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, and we have the third eye chakra. Okay, I just wanted to say that I don't usually share this when I'm doing my readings here, especially for the public, but it's so profound for me that I just have to share this. For me, the bear is a very specific card personally, okay? Now, I'm going to be reading for you guys, and I'm going to apply the reading that feels intuitively like the correct one for you. And I just wanted to say, I picked the white flower because I was like, okay, I want some guidance about this situation that, you know, I'm thinking about. And the mice and the bear for me just really struck me. And I just wanted to mention that because of that, I feel like I have a stronger insight into whatever the situation is. Okay. For you guys. So I might be a little long-winded. Okay. So it seems like there's been a loss of something secure, maybe a loss of, a relationship. It might be even like a person. It might be maybe somebody passed away or someone's not around. It mostly is that something has been taken away from, and this person's going to help you though. That's going to be for the most of you, like 80% of you, that's what that interpretation is. Let's go ahead and start with the tarot here though. So you're in a situation where you're asking, how can I be successful? And it's really an interesting situation because there has been a certain amount of success in this. It almost seems, or at least at the time, too good to be true, you know? But see, the lesson in this one is that we can't sustain happiness, okay? Happiness isn't like a state that you get into and then you're always happy. It's more like we're striving for contentment. We're striving to have the most of what we want in whatever moment that we can have it, right? And by doing that, it's not by necessarily saying like, how can I be happy? It's more like, how can I optimize my happiness? You know? So I'm just trying to think of an impossible situation. Like, okay, somebody who has depression, a mental disorder that they have to manage. They can't, there's no cure for depression. One has to manage it. They might be successful in managing it most of the time, right? But there's still going to be those bad days. In the same way that people without depression have bad days, right? Maybe somebody with that diagnosis may have a little bit more bad days than others. They might have a lot of more bad days than others, right? But it's still something they manage. And so celebrate the successes that you already have had in this. I really feel like that's a major focus for you. Okay. And this is going to sound weird, but also celebrate the times where you've had to kind of be like, oh, and like kind of humble yourself to the idea that there was something that you were doing or some way you were acting that for whatever reason in the situation you were shown that you could be better than that, and actually taking pains, actually making the effort to be a better person. Okay, I really feel like this is a very abstract reading, and that the situation you're asking about is a lot more abstract than it is physical. I'm not saying that the question can't be about physical stuff, but it just feels more like it's an idea. It's a one of those kind of more deep questions, for lack of a better word. So then we have, what's going to happen next? Well, unfortunately, it's going to take a while, okay? For this situation to become more successful and for this situation to be better, it's going to take a long time. I don't want to say years. I just want to say like months, okay? And in the meantime, you can be very thankful that your intuition is going to be wide open, okay? This might not necessarily be the best time to try to manifest things, but it's a great time to listen to your own intuition. I just want to say intuition is one of those things. It's gentle. It's not scary. Even when it's communicating something scary, it'll let you know for sure, but it doesn't cause suffering, okay? It's just more like, bam, ooh, something's going on, and then that's it, right? So if you're up late at night and you're thinking and thinking for hours and hours, that's not intuition. That's your thoughts. Okay. And the reason I say that is because so many people get those things confused, right? And that's why I want to say that. But your third eye chakra is way open. I would also advise you to really get in contact with the physical world. And this is just a dynamic that has been studied in psychology, specifically depth psychology, where if a person wants to boost their intuition on a situation, what they can do is they can be more tactile. Because it's almost like if you're playing a puzzle, for example, a jigsaw puzzle, and you take a break and you walk away from it. And let's say the last 30 minutes you cannot find a single piece that goes anywhere. And then when you come back to it, all of a sudden 5 pieces fit in, right? That's kind of the way intuition works. You can't push it. So keep that in mind. Also understand there's something in this, whatever has been lost, okay? The mice, the story of the mice in the Lenormand is that, here they are in the pantry and they're getting into the food and, they're eating that food and stuff, right? The reason that symbol is supposed to be conveying that there has been some kind of loss. There's been something that's been taken away from, maybe it's something as simple as you had $10 and now you have $9, right? But whatever it is, there's something that's been taken away, but it's like that's been taken away so that something new and better can come in, all right? And whatever is new and better is going to be really, really good, okay? For some of you, you might be stuck in the idea that it has to be in this context, but it's going to actually be in a different context. I can't elaborate on that because it's like, that's as much as they'll let me say. But it's like, I guess a better way of putting it is, it might be something unexpected, okay? And and again, I picked the white one, okay? So this isn't something that I'm liking either. There's going to be a certain amount of patience that's going to be required for this, okay? One thing that I have that is just I'm really thankful for is I'm definitely getting a time frame. This is going to be 6 months from now. That is when you're going to be able to start seeing something change, okay? So whatever new thing, it's not going to come into your life for another 6 months. Or it might be coming in, but it's just not going to make itself known for another 6 months, okay? Or, you know, we've got this, it's a cycle card, okay? See, cycle. This could be a situation where you're in maybe a relationship or in a career position here where you go through different cycles, you know, kind of like the Wheel of Fortune. You ride up the Wheel of Fortune and down. And right now you might be like, man, I was successful. What's going on? It might just be that right now you're down on the Wheel of Fortune, but just be aware that it always goes back up, you know, and that's the beauty of it. So keeping that in mind, understand that things are going to turn around. They're going to get a lot better. You're going to be feeling a lot better. Just, it's going to be a waiting period. And it might be one of those situations that you've got to kind of put on a shelf. That doesn't mean that you can't think about it every single day, you know, but it might just be something that's like, okay, I've got to get real busy with something else, you know? So the Sanctuary card, I feel really moved to actually read this. Within your heart, a space of regenerating sanctuary awaits. Yeah. That theme of regeneration, of loss and gain and the theme of even a rebirth, you know, of this situation, the cycle, you know, and that kind of thing. I'm feeling it hardcore with you guys. And with Sanctuary, it's like you guys might need to get to a point where you can find something to do, like when I said to get busy, but you've got to find something to do that will help calm you down too. There is a concept, it's not actually a very new concept, but it was something I hadn't heard of until the beginning of last year. So, you know, this might be something you guys haven't, but something that has helped me with finding this kind of sanctuary is that I have made a little care box for myself, a self-care box for myself, okay? What I have in the box, it's like about a shoebox size. It's a plastic box that I got like at a dollar store, really. And it's got a couple of books. Both of them were for $1. In fact, I probably did all of this at a dollar store. But it's got a couple of books of Sudoku. It's got a couple of books of crossword puzzles, right? Crossword puzzles. If word searches are your thing, maybe you could get some of those. It's got a journal. It's got it's got specific synergies of aromatherapy that I like to put on that helps calm me down. It's got a list of things that I can do to help calm myself down. I have a little journal of affirmations, like everything's going to be okay, you know, that kind of stuff, or I'm okay. You know, that's actually what it says, is I'm okay, because it's like sometimes we don't know in fact, most of the time we don't know how a situation is going to come out, but just remembering that, okay, we are safe, we're okay. In this moment, we're not being attacked, we're not being hurt, you know, that kind of thing. That might be helpful. I really, really hope that resonates with a lot of you, because I'm kind of embarrassed that I just shared that. But yeah, self-care boxes. And if you don't like my ideas, go ahead and do a Google search for it, because you'll find information about this. Okay, guys? But basically, here's the deal. Be very thankful that you're a very, very intuitive soul that is really in tune. If it doesn't feel like it, you are about to be surprised, because you're going to be getting in tune with this. Okay? Remember and take some comfort in the fact that you know that this is something that you can excel in. Take comfort in the fact that you have made some mistakes, you know, or some mistakes might have been made, because that's given you an opportunity to grow and to learn, okay? And also be thankful that this is coming. Somebody is going to be offering you something new, and it's going to be very tangible. It is going to be something that, you know, it's not going to be something that's just an idea kind of thing. It's going to be more tangible. You are manifesting something right now. It's just going to take a while to manifest. New beginnings are coming. I'm really floored at this reading, because it's a really, really great reading. And for my particular situation, it's exactly what I needed to hear. So hopefully you guys are feeling the same way. Thank you guys so much for watching in this video and for picking this reading. If you want a private reading, you can always order one. The information's in that description. All right. Hi, those of you who picked the black flower. I thought the black and the purple went so well together. Here's advice for your situation. We have some deception going on. Okay, we've got the Magician. We've got the 5 of coins. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, we've got the Snake, and then we've got the Coffin. Right? We've got Nurturing, and we've got Wisdom. Okay, I just want to mention, this is a non-traditional tarot deck. This would be the equivalent of the Hierophant. Okay, so I just, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I think it's an important thing that the Hierophant, the Magician, and the Wheel of Fortune all came up. Those are 3 major arcana cards. That lets me know that this is, you're not just asking about a small thing. You know, you're not asking like, am I going to be successful in picking out what I'm going to wear tomorrow? Although that might be a big thing if it's your wedding. But I mean, like for, you know, really, this is a bigger thing than what most people are going to be asking about based on the other readings I've done so far. So, all right. Yes, you've been deceived. However, you know that you've been deceived, and you know all the answers. You know all of the details of that deception. You might not know every single nitty picky thing, but whatever has been deception, whether it's been by you overhearing it, or you kind of like walking in on a situation that let you know all of this stuff, or the person told you. There's nothing more. So if you're sitting there going like, okay, well, in what other way am I going to be deceived? What are some other things that are going on? It's like, there's nothing else, okay? You know everything. You know all of it, right? Maybe you might not know everything, but you know everything about the deception, okay? You also have all the tools you need to succeed in the situation already with you, okay? So there's nothing new that you need to get, or acquire in order to get better, okay? It might feel like things are really bad right now. I actually am specifically getting that there might be some kind of, monetary issue, or maybe there's, it could be food insecurity or money, possessions. Maybe somebody has something that's yours and you don't know if you're going to get it back. But there's some kind of insecurity about money, and you're worried that you've been forgotten as a result of that. This can sometimes be like being left out in the cold, you know, that kind of thing. I don't feel like this is so much that, I don't feel like that phrase is as accurate as it could be. I feel like it's more like there's some kind of insecurity having to do with money. I'm not saying that maybe you're having issues with money. What I'm saying is, hi guys, sorry, I had to cut. I had a technical issue, but I was talking about this card and I was about to give an example. Okay, so the example I was going to give is, for example, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you might have financial issues. It might just be that you're waiting to hear about something that has to do with finances. Like maybe you're a beneficiary and someone passed away and you're waiting to find out how much you are going to inherit, or maybe somebody, maybe it doesn't even have to be money. It can be some kind of material thing. You know, maybe someone is, you know, you've paid for something and you're about to get that kind of thing. But it's just, what I'm seeing is that there's some kind of question about when is that going to happen? Is it going to happen? And that kind of thing. And that insecurity is there. And I think that is also something that's going on with you that can be, that can feel like an issue. It can feel like a bigger issue than it actually is. If it's not monetary or material, it could also be just a physical, because the coins talk about earth energy. It could just be that physical manifestation of, for example, a relationship or something actually manifesting. The Magician is definitely associated with manifestation too. But, on the other hand, we also have that the magician comes up saying, well, you've got all you need, okay? This is going to work itself out. I believe that very strongly. Definitely, I actually want to say, and I don't like making sweeping statements, so really understand that I believe this very strongly. For this group, it's almost like I want to say I can guarantee you that this is going to be a non-issue very soon. I'm saying that knowing that I don't like to make statements like that, but I just feel very strongly this is going to turn around. Part of that's because we've got the Wheel of Fortune, which is, all about kind of, it's about cycles. It's about how, you can be up on the Wheel of Fortune or you can be down, but just having that awareness and that appreciation that you can't, that luck's about to change, and that no matter where you are, so if you're in a lower position on the Wheel of Fortune, you're about to go back up. And if you're on a high position on that Wheel of Fortune, prepare, know that you could go back down. Now, we're talking about how to be successful, okay? So when we put this in the context of that particular question, the focus is, okay, well, what's the advice here, though? The advice here is just be prepared for the unexpected, but understand that luck's about to change, and because I'm getting this card first before the Wheel of Fortune, I really believe it's going to change for the better, okay? So for those of you who are kind of high, know you're going to get a little bit higher before it goes back down again. And for those of you who are on the bottom, things are about to turn around, okay? And again, with the magician, you have all that you need. The Hierophant in this particular deck is really almost like another way of conveying the Hermit, only it's not as solitary, let's say. It's really like understanding that either you have all the knowledge or you have all the wisdom that you need, or that it's easily to access, okay? It's easy to access. So, for example, if this involves a person, that person will be open to communicating with you, okay? If you initiate communication. If this is a situation that has to do with problem solving, like how do I get from here to the next spot? Then this is letting you know you can look it up and you'll find a way how to do that, okay? In fact, this is kind of the tarot equivalent of let me Google that for you. It isn't, it's just, I'm trying to make a joke. I know my jokes aren't that funny, but basically it's like you have access to the information, okay? It's out there, you just need to look for it. But while also knowing that you already have what you need. So when I say that, I mean, maybe you don't have all the little pieces, all the little bits and pieces that you need, but it's accessible to you, okay? And it's easy, it's not something that you're going to have to jump over mountains to find. You'll be able to find it pretty quickly. To kind of go back to the initial question of something that's deception here, and again, for some of you, it really might be self-deception, but I really I really feel like this is somebody that's not the viewer. For most of you, it's going to be somebody around you, somebody associated with the situation has either deceived you or maybe misled you or misguided you, right? But again, with the magician and the wisdom, I feel like you know this already, okay? I don't feel like this is a secret. Okay, this is almost kind of like a card that's kind of giving you that confirmation that yes, we're talking about the same thing. Okay, when we talk about the snake, when it comes up in Lenormand, it can mean a lot of different things. Typically, it means someone who might hurt you. Okay. In this situation, especially with this particular Lenormand drawing with the apples and everything, I really feel like it's just talking about the deceiver, the snake in the myth, or I'm sorry for those of you who are Christian in the Bible, and for those of you who look at religious stories as myths like the way that I do, and that's not at all in being disrespectful to any religion. That's just the way that I conceive of it, and I apologize if that was upsetting to anyone. I try to keep religion out of it. But according to this story, the snake deceives, and a lot of bad things happen, and so I do feel like this is just a reiteration of there's been some deception, if anything else, like trickery, or misdirection might be another one. Okay, but that's ended now. Okay, and again, I really felt like at the very beginning of this reading, when I saw this, it was like, it's so important for you guys to know that intuitively and based on the cards that I'm getting here, there's not going to be something new that's going to happen that's going to take you by surprise. Okay, what you see is what you get. For example, just because it's so much easier to use it this way, if this is a person that has literally lied to you, either they've told you everything, either they've come clean with you, or you have the ability to find out all of the deception yourself, okay? And you already know it, okay? That's another real important thing. Sometimes I get these like impulses, like I need to say it this way, so please bear with me. I know that I can be long-winded sometimes, but it's really important to know that, and it's also important to know that it's not going to happen anymore. There's no more, okay? Either the person's not in your life, or they've changed, or they're just not, they're just not going to, make this an issue again, So just keep that in mind. We've got nurturing for your advice card, and I feel like with nurturing, another word for nurturing it. Well, when someone is nurtured, they thrive, right? If you've got a plant and you water it and you give it good soil and all of that good stuff, it will thrive. And if you keep it in the dark and don't water it, as long as it's not a very rare species of plant, then typically it won't thrive, right? I feel like that ties into this card, this feeling of some kind of insecurity. It's like going back to the magician, having everything you need. I feel like you can nurture yourself, and that's almost like that's a part of the advice here. Okay, so let's just go back and just kind of say straightforward what this is letting us know. In this particular situation, there has been some deception and misdirection. That's over though, okay? Or you're fully aware of everything. So if you're worried that there might be more deception, it's not going to be there, okay? At least that's what I'm getting. You've got what you need to succeed. So it's almost like a non-answer. It's almost like, well, you can succeed because you already can. But I mean, but the advice here more is about taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're giving yourself what you need to be healthy and thrive in whatever environment is. Look up information if you don't have enough information, or if you feel like you don't have enough information to make a wise decision, and be aware that, you've got a cycle in your life as everybody else on the planet does, that, things go up and things go down. Okay. And your luck's about to change. And so just be aware of that. If this is a situation where it's all like, okay, well, I want to be successful, but I think I might be going through a rough time soon. This is telling you prepare. Okay. Just prepare for that. If this is a situation where it's like, gosh, things have been so down so long, I don't know what's going to happen. It's like, well, things are going to start getting up for you. Okay. So it's really going to be a very subjective experience for the viewer as far as what that advice specifically is. But bottom line, take care of yourself. Know that whatever danger or whatever lies have been going on is no longer an issue. Okay. I really hope that you enjoyed your reading. I hope it helped. And if you would like a private reading, all that information's in that description. Right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Okay, hi. I believe that you guys are number 5, but this is the green flower. So what to do in your situation? Okay, so we've got family, okay, the Hermit, the Page of Cups, Okay, and the Three of Swords. All right, we've got the home followed by the anchor. We have serenity, and we have rest and rejuvenation. Okay. Oh. Okay, here's a situation. Sometimes when we ask, what can we do to be successful? The answer isn't necessarily, and I wasn't expecting this kind of answer, but I mean, the cards come out sometimes and it's like, wow, I hadn't thought of that. But sometimes the answer isn't necessarily that there's anything you can do to be successful. It's about healing. And that's what the goal is. So I feel like if for those of you who came into this reading not thinking of like, how can I heal? You know, what can I do to feel better, right? This isn't necessarily about whatever situation you were thinking about. This is actually about what you need to do first before that situation can be better, okay? So I'm not saying that your situation is doomed at all. No, not at all. I'm just saying that this is going to take precedence, okay? So and I feel like for a lot of you, that might be a surprise, okay? But just listen, you know, and take what resonates and just throw away what doesn't, you know? Okay, so we've got rest and rejuvenation, serenity, and the hermit. We also have the home, which can be a retreat, okay? All of these things are basically saying the same thing. And it's like, you've got to go within, okay? This is not going to be something that is going to be solved by someone else, okay? You've got to go within yourself to find your own inner strength and healing. Maybe there's some trauma response that you're doing, or some kind of perspective, you know, way that you've been looking at this that has been especially difficult, has made the success particularly difficult, okay? If you find yourself in this situation kind of like, gosh, it seems like everything I do is wrong, that kind of thing, it's not that you're wrong. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's that you're skipping a step. And that step is going within and really evaluating where you are in the moment, where your hurt is, and how to express that in a way to yourself so that you can acknowledge it and then rest with that and turn that into a lesson. Whatever situation that you're going through, there's some kind of past hurt or anticipation of hurt that's based on a pattern from your past that has been hurtful, okay? That is keeping you stuck from moving forward in your situation, okay? And the way that you move forward in the situation is to address that. This might look like counseling for some of you. It might look like journaling for some of you. It might even just look like taking an hour and being like, okay, so there's the problem and then there's the real problem. So, you know, for example, if let's say two people are arguing and one of them's all like, well, you're always mean to me, you know, for example. And so like, you're always mean to me might be the problem. But the real problem is maybe the person who's always mean feels attacked by the other person. And so they feel like they need to defend themselves all the time. So that's what I mean. Go deeper into your consciousness, into your emotions right now, and figure out what's really going on, okay? Then start putting that into words of some kind, okay? The purpose isn't necessarily, you know, and I know with Cups cards, we're talking about emotions, typically. But the purpose of this isn't necessarily of getting in tune with your emotions, although I hope that happens. The purpose is just getting in tune with how to express yourself, okay? In a way that instead of experiencing suffering, you just experience the pain of it. And it's like, wait, what did you say? It's like, okay, sometimes things hurt, right? I'm just going to use the first thing I can think of. Like my cat, when I'm playing with him, he might scratch me, right? And it hurts. It's like, ooh, owie, don't do that, you know? But we suffer when we don't take the steps to address those hurts, you know? So maybe my cat scratches me, but then if I don't put any kind of like ointment on it, or I don't cover it with a Band-Aid or something, then it'll be open for more, you know, for bacteria to get in and all sorts of nasty stuff, right? So so the problem isn't figuring out how to make certain my baby kitten doesn't scratch me. The problem is, okay, I've got to first take care of the fact that I've gotten scratched to begin with. You know, it might be a horrible metaphor, but what I'm trying to get at is that I don't have to suffer more scratches. You know, all I have to do is take care of the scratch that initially happened, and then we'll move. Then once that's taken care of, once I'm healed, then we can figure out, okay, how do we teach this kitten not to scratch, right? So it's kind of like that. I'm sure your situation is a lot bigger than something that small, but it was the first thing that came to mind. One thing about going within is we've got the home and we've got the family. And while I really feel like most of this is a solitary process for you, I think that there can be some insight for you about how to kind of heal before you'll be ready for this to become successful for you, by either looking at your family roots, okay, and just kind of think of, what is my family narrative? You know how we have stories that we tell ourselves about the different things that happen to us and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, what stories do I tell myself about my family, you know? For example, is my stepmother an evil stepmother, or is she a good stepmother, or is my brother a protective brother, or is he a bully, that kind of thing, right? So when we're talking about family, we're talking, yes, it might mean reaching out to your family, because maybe you are able to go deep within yourself with a family member, because you're both very self-reflective and self-aware, and you can kind of play off of each other. I think for the most part, though, this is going to be describing a situation where you're looking at the story of your family, the story of your roots. Where have you come from? What are the themes? Like, for example, what have you dealt with that maybe your parents dealt with, and then before that their parents dealt with, that kind of thing. Or what are you observing your child dealing with that's something that you had to deal with, right? And it's about kind of breaking that cycle, or at least acknowledging it so that you don't have to hurt as much, okay? So yeah, we've got, we've got like, okay, take a break. We've got the hermit, rest and rejuvenate. Take a break. Really start looking at areas in your life where you've been hurt, and start trying to put that to words so that you could start confronting it. This might be something that's more appropriate to do with a counselor. Okay. So I don't want you guys to, start diving deep into something that's going to, upset you a whole lot. Okay. But understand that that's the kind of work that needs to be done to heal. One thing that you will find is that it will start bringing you a sense of peace. This card isn't the peace card, though. It's serenity. Serenity is almost like, the best way I can describe the vibe of it that I'm getting right now is like, it's not just about feeling peaceful. It's also about knowing that you're not currently hurt. Like in this moment, you're safe. It's more about security, and it's also about realizing that all this time maybe you've been more secure than you even realized. All this time maybe you have maybe that you've been doing better than you even realize, and that's a very difficult concept to explain if you haven't gone through it. But I can say facing pain, facing trauma, facing pain, and that kind of stuff can get you to that moment when you're like, you know what? That's not happening to me anymore. I don't want to give some examples because I know it can be very, very triggery, and it's a very personal thing. But if you've had an experience, I don't know, like I don't know why I keep thinking about animals hurting people, but like if I was stung by a bee and it really traumatized me, I can reach a point of serenity where it's like, wow, I don't have to worry about that right now. I'm not getting stung. I have not gotten stung since then, and I'm not getting stung now. So I don't have to worry about that. And it's like a load off, and I can go back to that person, 9-year-old Cassie, I'm so sorry you got stung by a bee. I'm so sorry that you had that experience. I know it really hurt, and I know that it was confusing, but you're okay now. And I understand why you were upset then, but you don't have to be upset about that anymore. I really hope that metaphor works, especially better than the cat scratch one. And then we've got, the house followed by the anchor. And the anchor is like more important than the house, at least I think, because the anchor is what gives you the answer more. Is it there's something about this process that's going to make you feel more solid. A word that might, be a little bit more accessible for those of you, especially for those of you who are, viewers and into the same kinds of things that I am, is grounded. You're going to feel a lot more grounded, okay? That doesn't mean stuck. It just means grounded. You'll know where your place is, okay? And that wisdom of knowing who you are is what then gets you to that point that where it's like, okay, now I can approach this situation, this problem, this, whatever it is, and I know I can succeed in it, okay? Because I think this might also be, in some of your cases, you guys getting in your own way, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. I wish I could get more detailed, but that's what I'm being told to say, and nothing more. So I hope that this has been helpful. I sometimes get frustrated when I can't give a better answer, but do understand this is a public reading, and of course private readings I can get a lot more in depth with. And if you'd like to order a private reading, there's that in the description. Thank you. All right, guys. Hi. Pile number 6, the pink flower. I really like that one. I like that color a lot. That pale pink. It was actually my wedding colors when I got married. Anyway, so here we go. Here's your reading, and I'm just kind of going through it. It's very positive. Okay, so how do you be successful in this situation? Okay, we've got intentions, playing it safe. We've got the 7 of Cups. We've got the 4 of Cups. And the Sun. We also have the Heart, which is a really great card to get. We've got the Heart. We've got the Rider. We've got Strength. And we have the sacral chakra. Okay, so this is kind of interesting because the sacral chakra can sometimes come up as being like a vulnerability, or maybe even being in a situation where you feel like some of those base needs aren't being met. I apologize if you can hear that noise. It's for some reason my phone is ringing, but I'm gonna just ignore it. But I just want to acknowledge I hear it. I apologize. But so yeah, the sacral chakra can sometimes talk about vulnerability and that kind of stuff. In your case, I actually don't think that that's what it is. I think what it's talking about more is about not only like gut instincts, but also about like feeling that I want to make sure that I say it right. It's like feeling that you have you've got those base needs met. It's like, okay, you're in a situation where it's all like, okay, here's a situation, whichever one you've got in your mind. I've already got the groundwork done. I've already, for example, if it's a relationship, you might say, well, I've met the person. I know who it is that I want to be in a relationship with. Or it might even be something like, okay, we're seeing one another. I've got that done. It's like the very bottom line things in your situation, like, okay, how do I progress in my career? Where I've got the job, that kind of thing. It's like, I've already got the foundation. It's like, how do I build on that foundation, if that makes sense? So that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting from the sacral chakra. So if you're not in that place, I do want to say you're about to be, okay? That foundation's about to find you really quickly. So yeah, and the time frame for that, about a week at the most. Okay. So here's more of the issue. The more of the issue is that you've got a lot of different options. And not only do you have a lot of options, you have a lot of options in the fact that some of the options might not even seem appealing because you're overloaded with information, okay? In fact, this might not necessarily be so much about, like, for example, how do I succeed in my career? It's all like, oh, well, I've got all these jobs that I can pick from. It might not even be that. It can just be like my career has to do with, like, kind of information overload. It can also have to do with, like, sensory overload. Just anything where you've got a lot of different things pulling you in different directions. And that kind of thing, to where you almost get a little complacent or kind of numb to it just because it's like, gosh, it's exhausting and that kind of thing. Okay. But what the blessing is here is that because you have all these options, it's almost like you're guaranteed to be successful. You just got to pick one. How do you pick one? Okay. This is, this is how you pick it. Don't take too much of a risk. You can take a risk, okay? I'm all for taking risks. I think it's beautiful, especially in art and in movies and music when people take a risk and it works. Oh, wow, it's so amazing. And books, too. But in this playing it safe, it's like, you've got to take a risk, but it's like, or if you have to take a risk, understand that you've got to have some kind of fallback plan, okay? So be cautious, and also, be aware that there might be multiple ways, there might be multiple options for you that will make you successful, okay? The options that will be more obvious to you will be options that you genuinely love, options that you genuinely feel good about, okay? You will be feeling that this is the right one, okay? So if it feels wrong, it's probably wrong, okay? It's something that is not too risky, right? It's something that gives you a little bit of security. It might be something someone else might think is risky, but maybe you have the skill set to be successful in that area. You've already got this kind of energy where it's like inevitable that you're going to be successful. So it's almost like I want to tell you not to worry so much about it. Just take care of those basic needs that you need to take care of in this situation. Like, for example, if I want to become a doctor if I want to be a doctor of some kind, it might not be a good idea to take the option where I work for a fashion magazine, right? But if I want to become a doctor and I could go into vet school or I can go into cardiology. It might be more like, okay, I've got to really feel like what do I really love? Do I really love the idea of going into cardiology, or do I really, really love the idea of becoming a vet? That kind of thing. So that's where this love comes from. It can also mean this can have two other meanings. One of them is that you're asking about a relationship and you're wondering what's the true feelings here, is this possible? And so you're wondering, can this even be successful? Is there even something that we can build off of? And the answer is yes, because we do have real love here, and we have the sun, which is very, very, it's a card that really shows success, okay, and warmth and happiness, that kind of thing. And then the other one, okay, like I said, the one of them is following your heart in whatever decision you need to make. The second one is this might have to do with a relationship, and know that this is a loving relationship. Okay. The third one is more like you've got to pick something that speaks to your causes, right? You might have a specific cause in mind, or in your heart would be a better way of putting it. You might have a cause in your heart that's really dear to you, and that might also be a way of guiding you into making the best decision, okay? So that would look more like a conviction, right? But it still touches on that area of feeling and harmonizing and that kind of thing that we do with our hearts. And then we also have that we've got possibly a love letter, or possibly some kind of message having to do with what you love, okay? The writer brings messages. This is quick messages, so this is like very soon you're going to get a message about this. It might even be that of your options, you're about to find out of a newer one. I do get the impression, especially from the Four of Cups, that it might be one of those situations where you're so overloaded with information that you might miss it. So be very aware that be open-minded, I suppose, is what I want to say about anything that presents itself. It might be the answer that you're looking for in an unconventional, wearing an unconventional outfit, let's say, right? But when we have strength, and talking about this, and this is probably the most important card in this reading, it's talking about making sure that you fully understand what you're getting into when you're doing this, okay? Because I think it's not so much that it's like, and I know that saying like, don't take too much of a risk, make sure you're getting into it. I'm not saying that because I think that there's going to be something bad that happens, or that I'm getting anything like that. I'm saying that because I feel like it's important for you to understand the whole scope of the whole situation. Because I kind of feel like this isn't a small matter, it's a bigger matter. And maybe there's, and the scope, maybe the reason you have so many options or feel so overloaded is because it is something of a big scope, right? That's what I mean. Okay, guys, hopefully that helps. And you'll be able to apply that to your situation. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you would like a private reading, information about that's in the description. All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching the news section of this video. I really appreciate that. I'm really floored and happy with all of the comments, all of the feedback, and just you guys are so great, and I love the community here, the likes and subscribes, and how this whole thing is growing and gaining all of this momentum and everything. It's just so exciting, and I'm really glad to be a part of that, and I'm just so happy that I can impart that with you guys. So I just wanted to say thank you for liking me. Okay. Just wanted to go ahead and say, coming up, starting next Monday, we are going to have a schedule that's very clear. On Monday, we're going to go back to the general weekly readings, okay? That we're going to be talking about what's going to happen for the next 7 days, okay? And it's going to be in general. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll have a pick a card reading, okay? That would be like today's reading. And then on Fridays, we're going to have the general weekly love reading, which is the same thing as Monday, only it's specifically about love. As most of you guys know, love is my specialty. So, I think that would be a good addition as well. Now, Wednesdays and Saturdays, I specifically left open because those are going to be the days of posting any kind of bonus content. That said, some of the pick a card readings that are going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks is going to be stuff like, what's the purpose of this connection? Like, what is the spiritual purpose, right? this connection? What do they like about me, right? What's next in this situation, right? And, you know, what are some of the things that are hidden from me about this particular situation or this relationship, okay? So we've got some really good videos coming up. As always, you know, there's some t-shirts in other merchandise. You can find that through our store, or you can follow the link below or anything like that. If you know, we do have an ongoing 10% off, so make sure that you put in 10 off at checkout if you would like to do that. I mean, if you're interested in purchasing anything from the merchandise, I'm pretty open for readings. Private readings are the turnaround rate on those is a week at the most. Okay, getting them done real quickly. I do have a limited inventory though, so I can only take a certain amount each week. Otherwise, I won't be able to get back to people within a positive time, you know, or within a reasonable time is what I meant. So kind of keep that in mind, that there is limited space every week. So yeah, if you really want to, if you're kind of on the fence about it, you don't know and everything, make sure that once you've made a decision, know that it'll be a week, or and also know that I update the inventory on Mondays. So that would be the best time to order. That said, the only thing else that I can think about and think of saying, and it's just because it's important, I think, is just to say that Turi is continuing to take a break from this. He's just got a lot of stuff going on with him. You know, we're going to see whether or not anything comes of that, you know, like he's just, you know, he's got his own family, he's got children, he's got, you know, his school and his work and all of the stuff that he does. And he just hit a point in his life where some things happen and he's got to take care of that, you know. And so I just wanted to say, you know, if you want to send out some good vibes, that's great. I'm sure he'd appreciate that. But also understand that, you know, we're a little disappointed that he can't be more active on the channel, especially since he's been so active in the background for such a long time. But just know that's the story there. So just wanted to make certain that I covered that. That said, thank you guys so much again for watching to the end of the video, and I will see you tomorrow with another pick a card reading.